Ever think about how, like, timing can be the difference between, well, life or death?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a human thing, is it?
No, not at all.
Today, we're going to be looking at how this plays out for red squirrels up in the Yukon.
Oh, wow.
We're diving into some serious data here,
Yeah.
not just cute squirrel antics.
No, hardcore ecological research.
Yeah.
We're examining a 2020 research article from the Journal of Animal Ecology. This paper by Hendricks and his team draws on 27 years.
Wow, 27 years?
57 years worth of data
That's amazing.
from the Kluane Red Squirrel Project. They tracked over 1,300 squirrels
Goodness.
to see what factors, what really determine a young squirrel's chances of surviving, that first tough winter.
So what is it about the Yukon that makes it so tough for these little guys?
Well, red squirrels in the Yukon, they depend on territories. And each territory centers around what we call a midden, basically a hidden stash of white spruce cones.
Wow, interesting.
And those cones, they're their main food source, and they ripen in August. So the squirrels that secure a territory before the cones ripen, they have a huge advantage going into winter.
I see.
Because they can gather and store all those fresh cones, building up their winter larder.
So it's all about what? Location.
Yes.
Being in the right place at the right time is critical.
You got it. And the study really backs this up. Juveniles that had their own territories by autumn had a 79% survival rate.
Wow.
That's almost as good as the survival rate for the adult squirrels.
Wow, that's a huge difference. What about the squirrels that didn't get a territory?
Yeah.
What were their chances?
Their survival rate was only about 33%.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So having a territory really does seem to provide, significant survival advantage
Absolutely.
for these young squirrels.
Yes.
It sounds like owning a territory serves as a shield against that harsh Yukon winter.
Yeah.
But the researchers also looked at predators, right? Didn't they find that lynx and mustelids were both threats to the squirrels?
He did. Both lynx and mustelids, which include like weasels and martens, they were linked to lower survival rates. But here's the thing. Territory ownership played a big role in how vulnerable the squirrels were to these predators.
Okay, so how did having a territory affect the squirrel's chances of becoming a predator's lunch?
Well, lynx predation seemed to hit those non-territory owners
Oh.
much harder than those with established territories.
So it seems like having a territory is pretty good protection against lynx.
Right.
Maybe lynx have trouble hunting squirrels, within those territories.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. You see, the territories are centered around these middens, which are basically piles of discarded cone scales.
Ah,
Maybe those middens make it hard for lynx to effectively hunt squirrels
Okay.
within a territory.
Makes sense. But you mentioned that mustelids were a threat too, right?
Yes.
Were territories equally effective at protecting against mustelids?
That's where things get interesting. While mustelids posed a threat to both groups of squirrels, those with territories still had some degree of protection.
I see.
It wasn't as dramatic as the difference we saw with lynx predation, but it was still significant.
So maybe mustelids are just better at getting around those middens and into squirrel nests
They're
than
like-
lynx are?
That's what the study authors suggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, mustelids are generally smaller and more agile than lynx, so they might be able to slip into, like, squirrel nests or burrows more easily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So territories are great for surviving winter and avoiding lynx,
Right.
but they don't offer foolproof protection. Now, there was one finding in this study that really surprised me.
Yeah.
It seems that non-territory owners actually had better survival rates during colder winters. That doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
You would think the cold would be harder on them.
All right. You would think so. It's a bit counterintuitive. The researchers proposed a couple of possible explanations for this surprising finding. One idea is that in those, harsh winters, the non-territory squirrels might be more likely to huddle together for warmth, especially with relatives.
Could huddling together really make that much of a difference in survival?
It's possible. Sharing body heat could be a real advantage when temperatures plummet. They called this the cuddle puddle theory.
Cuddle puddle, okay.
The researchers think this type of social warmth could be, boosting survival rates for the non-territory squirrels.
So the squirrels without a home base may band together to stay warm, while those with territories are on their own.
Right.
Interesting. But didn't you say the researchers had another explanation for why those non-territory owners, sometimes did better in cold winters?
Yes. The other idea is a bit more grim, unfortunately. The researchers call it the death equals opportunity scenario.
That sounds
Yeah.
ominous. What's that all about?
Basically, colder winters could be killing off more of the territory-holding juveniles, which would open up territories for the squirrels that didn't have one. It's sort of a morbid silver lining.
Yeah.
But it could explain why we see those non-territory squirrels surviving better in those colder years.
So a harsh winter could actually create more opportunities
Right.
for the squirrels that didn't win the territory lottery in the fall.
Exactly.
Fascinating. Beyond territory ownership and predator dynamics, the researchers also looked at some individual traits in the squirrels.
Right.
They considered things like how fast the squirrels grew,
Uh,
and when they were born, what did they learn about the importance of those individual factors?
The researchers discovered that even after factoring in territory ownership, faster-growing youngsters were more likely to survive. So
Okay.
this suggests there's a real advantage to being a bigger, stronger squirrel, regardless of whether you have a territory or not.
Why would being bigger be such an advantage?
Yeah. Well, think about what it takes to survive a Yukon winter as a squirrel. You need to be able to compete with other squirrels for food, defend yourself against predators, and maintain enough body fat to survive when food is scarce. Being bigger could make you more effective at all of those things.
So even among squirrels, it's survival of the fittest. What about birth date? Did being born earlier in the year give the squirrels an edge?
Interestingly, early birth date didn't seem to matter once they took territory ownership into account.
Hmm.
So early-born squirrels might be more likely to secure a territory in the first place, but simply being born earlier doesn't seem to offer any additional survival advantage.
So it's not just about when you're born,
Right.
but what you do with the time you have.
Exactly.
Get that territory bulk up, and your odds of making it through winter look a lot better no matter how cold it gets.
Exactly. The study really highlights how the timing of these key events can have ripple effects. It's not just about individual traits in isolation, but how those traits interact with the environment and all of the challenges these squirrels face.
This research focused on a specific population of red squirrels in the Yukon. Do you think these findings would hold true for other squirrel species or even other animals that rely on territories?
It's an important question. While we can't assume that these exact patterns apply to all squirrels or other territorial animals, this study offers valuable insights that could have broader applications. The idea that securing essential resources like food, shelter, or breeding sites can significantly impact survival is a fundamental ecological principle.
So whether you're a squirrel stashing combs, a bird defending a nesting site, or even a plant competing for sunlight,
Yes.
getting those resources can be the key to survival.
Absolutely. This study also highlights how getting established within a territory, having your basic needs covered, can influence how other factors affect you. For example, a harsh winter or a high number of predators might be less of a threat if you've already secured those essential resources.
It's almost like having a territory provides a buffer that allows those squirrels to handle those environmental challenges a bit better. Thinking about how important timing is for these squirrels makes me wonder about how timing influences our lives as humans. We don't have to worry about lynx or cone caches, but hitting certain milestones at the right time can definitely impact our lives.
I agree. Think about things like education, career choices, even starting a family. The timing of those events can shape the opportunities and challenges we face later in life. It's a good reminder that we're all part of these complex webs of interaction, and understanding how the timing of those interactions influences our lives is important.
It seems like this research on red squirrels offers some surprisingly profound insights into the importance of timing. To recap, it sounds like for these Yukon squirrels, snagging a territory before those cones ripen in August significantly improves their chances of surviving winter. But for those squirrels that don't get a territory, there are still strategies that could boost their odds of making it, like growing quickly or maybe finding some friendly squirrels to huddle with during those cold snaps.
And the big takeaway, the thing that really makes the study stand out, is that it shows just how powerfully the timing of key life events can affect an individual's chances of success. It's not just about who you are or what traits you have, it's also about when things happen. The study really underscores the interconnectedness of individual traits, environmental factors, and ultimately survival.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. We've gone from cute, fluffy squirrels to some really interesting ecological concepts, and we've even touched on how those concepts relate to our own lives. Before we wrap things up, I have one last question for you, and I wanted to pose this question to our listeners as well. If you were a young red squirrel facing that first Yukon winter, what strategy would you choose? Would you go all in, fighting for a territory early on, or would you take your chances as a nomad hoping for the best?
That's a thought-provoking question. It makes you consider the trade-offs these squirrels face. Securing a territory offers a stable food supply and better protection from predators like lynx, but it also means intense competition for those territories. And if the cone crop fails within a territory, a squirrel could be in real trouble.
Yeah. On the other hand, being a nomad seems riskier, but it could offer more flexibility. A nomad might be able to exploit new food sources, and there's always a chance of taking over a territory if one opens up. Tough choice.
It really is. There's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to survival strategies. The best approach likely depends on the individual squirrel's traits, the environmental conditions that year, and maybe even a little bit of luck.
This deep dive into the world of red squirrels has been eye-opening. We've learned how important territory is to their survival, explored the unexpected ways weather can influence their lives, and seen how individual traits like growth rate can interact with these factors.
It's a great reminder that even seemingly simple creatures, like squirrels, live incredibly complex lives. They've evolved fascinating adaptations and strategies for navigating the challenges of their world.
We want to hear what you thought of this deep dive. What surprised you the most? What would your red squirrel strategy be? Head over to our social media and share your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.